Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome back to the Onyx Tavern vlog series on Reshta Sentai ToQger. I'm your host, Rick the Barkeep, and today we're going to be covering Station 30, the birthday celebration. Now, there's a lot to actually say about this episode, and none of it really good. I know that you guys really hate it when I slam these Sentai episodes because it's a filler episode. Don't judge it too harshly and all that kind of stuff. And I get that. It's a filler episode. It's not meant to mean anything. Which I think is precisely the problem. It's not meant to mean anything. This episode meanders about, has a ridiculous premise to begin with, a ridiculous payoff, and a ridiculous lesson that we've already known. It just goes in circles, and it's very insulting to the audience. Not only is the A plot insulting, the B plot is insulting. The fact that it follows from an episode that is actually important and was also bad is insulting. And I'm going to have to go ahead and admit, and I know you guys hate this too, but I do believe there is some form of sexism in this episode as well. Whether it's blatant, whether they intended it, or there is something wrong with this episode on multiple levels. So let's get into it, and let's talk about what's going on in this episode. So the A plot of the episode is, it's Mio's birthday, Kagura wants to make a cake, she makes a cake, the end. That is literally the plot of the episode, folks, and that is the A plot. The B plot of the episode involves the Shadow Line. Yes, the mortal enemy of the Rainbow Line, and those who could take over the world if the ToQger don't do anything about it, is relegated to the B plot. Frankly, I have the same kind of contempt of this episode as Zet does to the actual plan that it makes up the B plot. I mean, it's beyond ridiculous. Let's talk about the B plot. Let's get that out of the way. So, we have a monster known as the Wig Shadow. Yes, that is the name of it. Who bonds a wig onto the heads of 5 of the ToQger. And the trick is that with the wig on, they can't remove it, and on top of it is a little baby chick. And if the chick were to die, then so will the ToQger. Yes, pretty convoluted, isn't it? And this is exactly what Zet says. He says that it's completely convoluted, and it really makes no sense. I mean, you can put a wig on them, or you can blast them. Let's put the wig on them. That seems to be more efficient, isn't it? So the episode deals with the ToQger basically trying to take care of these little chicks on top of their head, so that they don't die, and that they don't die as a result. Now, why is it that the chick life force is tied into the ToQger life force? Why is that? Yeah, you can say it's magic, but magic's got to be grounded somehow. The Wig Shadow has to explain this. Why won't the wigs actually come off? And what's odd, too, is that they don't take the chicks out of the wig. Why can't you take the chicks out? We actually see them almost come out a couple of times, almost walk out. Will they die if you take them out of the wig? I mean, why must they stay on top of the wig? And the episode basically ends with the chicks growing into full chickens in like an instant, and then the wigs disappear, and that's the end of it. The ToQger barely did anything in this episode. Yeah, they fed the chicks and they raised them, and then they grew the chickens and they ran away, and that was the end of it. That was your plan? To put these chicks on their head? I mean, I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. It's not funny. It's not clever. And again, we have these costumes with them wearing the wigs on their heads. Why? What? I just can't get over it. But, again, that is the B plot. What is the A plot? It's Mio's birthday, and Kagura wants to make a cake. Okay, so I credit the fact that that Kagura has a memory, that she remembers something about her childhood, and it happens to be Mio's birthday. Oddly enough, and I paused this, if you look at the calendar, it says her birthday is September 28th, but it doesn't mention what year it is on the calendar. I find that very suspicious, that they have these memories, but vital information they can't seem to remember. Yeah, they remember Mio's birthday, but it'd be nice to know what year her birthday was. Because to me, that would help tie into the plot, because, people have birthdays on the 20th of September, born in this year. I wonder if we can go to the missing persons registry and find a person with that birthday that happens to be missing. Stuff like that could be helpful. But no, she remembers the birthday, she wants to make a cake, she goes to the bakery, begs the woman to teach her how to make a cake, and the episode is her learning how to make a cake, only for it to be destroyed by the wig shadow as she's going back to the rainbow line, and then that's how she gets involved. I mean, that's how the two plots collide, ladies and gentlemen. That's how things happen. Why? Why is there this cake plot? And the funny thing is, here's the thing about the cake plot. This, to me, seems like it started as a Takachi story, and I'll tell you why. As we've established, we've had 2 episodes already where Takachi basically has a thing for Mia. We learn at the end of one episode, and it's kind of dominating within another episode. So we know Takachi likes her. So why isn't that Takachi finds out what her birthday is and goes to make a cake? Because it seems to me, and I could be wrong on this, but it just seems to me that Kagura making her a cake is a standard thing. That's something that I think girls would do for each other. No problem there. But I think for a guy to go out and learn to make a cake for his girlfriend or the girl he likes, I think that's a little bit more special. And I wonder if the episode didn't start out to where, hey, it was Takachi that was going to go ahead and make a cake, go through this whole ordeal just to go ahead and impress Mio, and then by the end she either realizes she has some affection for him or that she has no affection for him and gives him like a pat on the head, whatever. It's like, oh, thank you guys. Thanks everybody was involved when it was Takachi. Because it seems like it's almost like everybody, like, the episode would start with Kagura saying it's her birthday, they all plan to do something, and Takachi says, I'm going to make the cake because I want to go ahead and impress her. And actually what's funny about this episode too is Kagura can't make a cake. She's bad cooking. Where have we seen that before in another Pink Ranger in a Sentai series? Yes, Shuriken Pink had the same problem. She couldn't cook. Okay, which, let's get into... Let's get into the sexism of this particular episode, because Kagura, it's great that she has an episode. It really is. I'm glad that we're doing an episode about her. But first of all, tell me, what do we learn about Kagura in this episode that we do not already know or did not already assume? Nothing really. We know that she's friends with Mio, that she'll do anything for her friends, and it's her feelings that count. Stuff like that. We know that about Kagura. Why is it that we couldn't learn anything more about her at this point? Which again is why I think this is originally a Takachi story that they were going to put in there, about this bond and connection they have. Kagura and Mio already have a connection. They're the girls on the team, therefore they are friends. End of story. Which in itself is a sexist statement to make, I know, but that seems to be what they're doing here. Look at every Sentai series that we had for the last decade. Pretty much all the women on the team are friends. All the Ranger characters are friends in some way. Yes, there are exceptions, but it's kind of a granted. You got 2 girls, obviously they're going to go ahead and be friends. But if we put Takachi in the role, this could have been an opportunity for those two to bond and actually become closer and maybe eventually become a couple. But that is not what happens in this episode. Again, it's given to Mio, and she's given the role of baking a cake. And I'm sorry, but when you think of roles that women have, it's, home ec, it's cooking, it's making stuff and all that. Even the pastry chef that we get is a woman. Now, I'm not saying she can't be a pastry chef or this isn't sexist, or anything like that. What I'm trying to go ahead and say is you deliberately put the most feminine of the 2 female characters in the role of making a cake. Much in the same way that the Shinken Pink character was put in the role of the motherly, I want to go ahead and cook, find a good husband kind of role and all that. That in itself was kind of embarrassing. This is also embarrassing, but not as much, I would go ahead and say. And again, we don't learn anything about her character. At the end, she'll do anything for her friends. Okay, we could have assumed that before. With everything she did for Akira in the bathhouse episode, which, yes, I am referencing that atrocity. She is doing everything she can for Akira and the new friends she made, but she's doing the same thing here for Mio. Couldn't there have been some other way that if you wrote Kagura into this episode that we could have gotten something unique and special about her? I mean, could have learned something new, but again, if you take this episode out of continuity, I don't think we'll lose anything. Yeah, we got a Kagura episode, but again, we don't learn anything about her. And I think something else that, I know I throw this word out there a lot, but I do think it's in some way sexist that both of the girls had to share the Hyperesha. Now, I actually did some research on this, and I tried not to spoil anything, but this point just really bothered me. According to Ranger Wiki and a couple of other sources that I looked at, all the male characters get to use the Hyperesha, and in some cases more than once. This is the only episode in which both girls use the Hyperesha, and they happen to use it together at the same time. Now, what is that about? Seriously, why is it that in the only episode in which the females are allowed to use the powerful armor and weapon that they get merged together? Yeah, there's some interesting attacks and choreography that they have, but why is it that these girls don't get to use it later on and get to use it individually? I mean, it's not like they didn't have the suit available for them in their sizes. I mean, it's pretty easy to make that, and they used it on, again, Wright and Hikari have used it already. But again, according to what I'm told, this is the only time that either girl uses it, and they happen to use it at the same time. Why? Why is that? I don't get that. What are you trying to go ahead and say? What are you trying to go ahead and do? Why are you not giving these girls the individual opportunity here? Because what happens is, with this episode, we're focusing on Kagura and her friendship with Mio, but Mio is pretty much completely absent from the episode as far as being proactive in anything. And then she accidentally gets merged here with the Hyperesha, and then it suddenly becomes about the two girls and their friendship. You can't do a friendship episode when the friendship is not in danger or risk at being lost or anything, and then you put them together in a situation where neither has done anything of substance. Again, we have Mio. She hasn't done anything. The only thing she's done is had to deal with that damn chick on her head. But then she's supposed to come together with Kagura at the end and get together and go, yeah, girl power, yay! I'm sorry, I don't see it. I don't get it. I mean, I do think it is unfair that the girls only get to use it once and then they have to go ahead and share it. Why was it written this way? And why don't they get it later on? What are the writers trying to say about the female characters? I mean, Mio in her own right is a strong character. Kagura is the child of the group. She is the one who gets the least screen time, the less episodes about herself, and really she is the least interesting character. Now, I've said before, I don't like Takashi that much. I don't find him to be that interesting, but the fact of the matter is they're doing something with him. They're giving him a storyline. They've given him an interest in Mio, and he has to go ahead and work with her. So, or he's trying to get a relationship with her is what I mean. Now, again, what if this really was a Takashi story? Could you see where he uses the Hyperesha and gets combined with Mio or something? Or heck, what if this episode was one of those stories where two characters who don't like each other or don't get along are stuck together and have to learn to work together? That at least would go ahead and make sense. But again, that's not what we got here. I'm rewriting the episode in a way that makes sense, but this episode itself makes no sense. So let me just kind of wrap up my overall thoughts here. First, the B plot, but the shout line, I don't know why that was a secondary plot, why that wasn't relegated to the first, to the A plot, and why this convoluted story. I mean, why with the chicks, if the chicks die and the chicks grow up? I don't get that. Makes no sense. Second point, the A story with Kagura making the cake. I don't know why we had this little montage on how to go ahead and make a cake. There are far more important times, or far more important things to spend time on. And by the way, Kagura is the only one who did not get a chick on her head, and while the others are trying to feed the chicks and learn how to take care of them, both Hikari and Takachi say, go and do your thing, go and make a cake, that's more important. They literally say that her making the cake for Mio is more important than their imminent death. That, priorities, right? Priorities of the ToQger. Which honestly is the biggest fault of this series, is that, again, I know that they have minds like children because they can't remember their past or anything, but you think they would grow up at some point, and we're 30 episodes in, people. 30 episodes, and they haven't really learned anything at this point, it seems. So again, priorities. So there's that whole thing, and then again, the two girls sharing, that whole part. And again, why didn't we pick up with what happened with the drill Resha? Why isn't that part important? Why is it that we did not go and say, hey, drill Resha's missing, let's find Schwartz. That should be our job now. Because remember, as we established, they're trying to find their hometown, which they have abandoned for a side mission, which is to revive the Shadow Towns, which they have now abandoned because they lost the drill Resha, and now their job is to go find the drill Resha. But immediately after that, no, more important thing is to make a birthday cake. Yeah, I see where we're going with that. So this episode just kind of really hurts my head. And again, if they don't want me to complain about this, make a good episode. Give us something of substance here. And I guess the cake is the best metaphor, because a cake is very little substance. It's all sweet and sugar and filling and all that. There's nothing to it. And I said this with the bathhouse episode. I just kind of hope it goes up from here. But we've seemed to be off kilter here a lot. I mean, we're about 17 episodes out from the final, and again, this is more than the halfway point. We haven't learned much of our characters. We haven't done much at this point. A lot of it seems to be wasted time, and I just don't get what's going on here with our heroes. It just doesn't add up to me. And yeah. Okay, there's one other thing I want to go ahead and say that I find interesting and yet odd. This is the very first time that we go into Gura's bedroom, and by extension, her train. Because it's been my understanding of the series that each train housed each ToQger. That they all went into their own trains where they have their own bed, their own shower, their own stuff, and things like that. Although for some reason throughout the series they've only congregated within Wright's train. Because if you actually look at it, it's designed with red interior. It's got the little logo at the top of his train. We never actually go to the other trains. This is the first time we did that. And all we do is we find out it's pink. So, a little bit of insight. I actually thought we would get something good from the teaser, because not only did we get flashback, but we got to go to a new set. But I digress on that. So that's what I think. I just hope 31 is better. I hope we're getting better episodes. And frankly, the fact that I'm doing 3 different vlogs at the moment, and I'm also trying to get through Zoo Ranger on DVD. And frankly, ToQger is the least interesting right now. I'm not saying it's a bad series. I'm going to save judgment till when we get at the end, because typically the end of a series, I think, can go ahead and save it. But from what I've seen up to this point, again, it's just a lot of wasting time, a lot of meandering, a lot of a lack of focus on what's going on in the series. So we'll just have to go ahead and see. But I want to know what your all's thoughts on this. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Until next time, good evening, and Tavern is now closed.